Under the Enough Project, you and actor George Clooney established the satellite Sentinel project. What is that project? Why did you create it?
Well, got to give all the credit where it's due, and it was George. You know, one night we had spent an entire day in a week. This is a couple of years ago on one of our trips near the border, and people were telling us all these stories of attacks, just terrible, you know, just gut-wrenching stories. And so we're up in the middle of the night, you know, we stay up half the night talking about what we've seen. And he's like, you know, why can't, if I get chased around by the paparazzi, if I get chased around by Google Earth, wherever I am, wherever I'm standing, why can't we do that? Why can't we give that same kind of celebrity to some of these war criminals like President Bashir? And it was like a, you know, a throwaway line, I thought, but he's like, no, 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 I'm serious. Why can't we do this? Yeah, why not? So we came back to the United States. We met with Google. We met with a bunch of satellite companies and different people who might potentially be able to contribute to this. And it turns out everybody was like, that's a great idea. We could contribute. So a lot of different organizations, particularly Digital Globe, which is probably now the largest satellite company in the world. They gave us a whole lot of free imagery up front, and we started training the satellites on some of these areas where the real hotspots, where either South Sudan or Sudan was saying they weren't moving their troops, but we could spot to see whether they were moving their troops. They'd say, no, we haven't used our attack helicopters or our airplanes, but we could see where they were using them. So we basically could shine a light directly on these areas that were the highest potential for going back to full-scale war. And many other things, diplomacy, pressure from the international community, but I think the satellites being trained on these parties and remove their deniability for some of the actions they were taking helped in the overall process of de-escalating and moving the troops back away from the border and away from full-scale war. So
you have proof that, in fact, this technology is actually working. How do you interpret the data?
I would look at these things, it just looks like a jumble of you know, broccoli, you know, because trees or whatever they are. But people are trained in how to read imagery, do imagery analysis. They're trained in how to spot what different airplanes look like, right down to the wings and the wingspan and all the rest of it. And so Digital Globe has a set of analysts on their team that so we have field personnel. We do sort of the political analysis. We do the military security analysis. They do the imagery analysis. And so together our two teams work to figure out when we have pictures of a live battle or of a bombing or some kind of a concentration of troops or military hardware, between the political analysis and the imagery analysis, we can figure out usually what exactly this is. And if we can't figure it out, we don't pretend. We don't say, well, we think it might be this, because that's very damaging to, you know, to just make these kind of assertions to our own credibility and to the situation on the ground. So we try to verify 100% on the ground and in the air what we're talking about.
And how and to whom do you disseminate the data?
Yeah,
for what purpose?
It's a great question, because we argued a lot about this at the beginning, debated it, you know, should we do this and then make it available to the policymakers? But they often have some of this information. It's never a question of, do we know? It's a question of, now that we know, what are we going to do about it? And that means if it's an issue halfway around the world and it doesn't have any sort of material or security relationship to the United States or Europe, then probably not going to do anything. So we figured that the best thing we could do is whenever we get these images that are hot and something's going on, let's get it out to the public. Let's let the media take a look at it and promulgate the fact that there is two trains about to collide. Are you going to get them off one or the other track? Are you going to stop the trains? Are you going to intervene in any way, or even just blow the whistle? And so I think it was more about getting it out there and putting pressure on the political actors then to do something about it. They can't pretend like they didn't know, because we're putting it right in their face. So, and then not just that, then we follow up on it. As George has been great on this, you know, we went and saw President Obama together and Secretary Clinton and a number of other key leaders, at least in the United States, in terms of, you know, pressing and pushing for a more robust diplomatic effort to try to prevent war between the two parties.